Well, until next time, this is Joe Van Cleve, and you guys have yourselves a great day. So a long time ago, maybe 20 years ago or more, I got a hold of this UltraPod 2, and it's a little pocket-sized tripod that has a little clamp. There's a dual ball head. There's like a ball here and a ball here, so you can articulate the thing pretty much any which way you want. The real ingenuity and simplicity of the UltraPod is it has this L-shaped leg, and attached to both sides of the L are two flat legs coming out, and when they extend out at 90 degrees here and here, it forms an equilateral triangle footprint. And so you can set this thing up on the tabletop and of course adjust the camera mount up here for whatever angle you want. Now this originally came also with a Velcro strap that wraps around through a slot in the leg, and you could fold these legs in and strap this to like a fence post or something like that, a light pole out in public. But I really liked the simplicity of this UltraPod. You can fold the legs in and kind of use it for vlogging, but it's a little short. You'll probably find on a tabletop it's a little too low, at least that's what I find. So then, in more recent times, I've acquired one of these Joby GorillaPods, and these seem to be really popular with a lot of people shooting handheld video. The most notable feature of the Joby is the fact that the legs are all made of articulating joints, and you can kind of bend the legs in whatever kind of a fashion you think you need to. I've been using this thing pretty much a lot in the last year or so for tabletop tripod use when I'm not using a full-size tripod like I am right now over there. But I've noticed when I'm at my desk sitting in my main chair that the Joby GorillaPod is just a little too low still, even with the ball head on it. I wish it was just a little longer. And the other thing that frustrates me about the Joby is these joints. Now this is supposed to be its principal feature, but really I find it highly irritating that the legs end up getting kind of all crooked. All the joints get crooked, and some of the joints are easier to operate than the others, and so you end up having to kind of fiddle with them like that. And I just wish that it had straight legs with maybe just one ball joint up on the top of each one. So that's kind of what I wish. I've been interested in kind of designing my own tabletop tripod ever since years ago I built a couple wooden full-size tripods. And one of the tripods I built was kind of loosely patterned after the UltraPod. What I did is I kind of reproduced that idea in principle. I have a main square leg with these two pieces of wood attached, and that forms my 90-degree angle. And then I have two other legs folding out from the side, and it has this kind of a blade setup that's about a 1/4 inch thick, and I can take off the ball head. I can unscrew the ball head completely, this knob, and there's a blade. There's a 1/4 inch thick little blade coming up here, and I can take this whole assembly right here and put it onto here. And it actually works pretty good. The only caveat is, again, in order to get an equilateral footprint on this kind of a tripod, you have to extend the legs out completely. If you extend them, if you try to increase the height by not extending the side legs out as much, you end up with more of a flatter triangle where there's a longer base here and two shorter ones, and it shifts the center of gravity out to the edge, so it's not very stable. So you have to kind of set it all the way out so the angles are 90 degrees. And the main problem on this is the shoulder bolt that has the ball. The number of threads protruding from the plate is a little short for some of my cameras, and specifically for the ball head, the Joby ball head itself, and some of the other cameras. And there's no way to really correct it. There's a shoulder down here, and there's this little plastic disc, and that's as far down as it goes. You can't extend that thread anymore. It needs to be a little bit higher, and that's one of the main reasons I haven't been using this or this. What I did more recently is I had also made a different kind of a tripod. It uses a triangular system. There's a triangular block up here, and there's legs that pivot sideways on each one of the triangle facets, and it makes an equilateral triangle kind of a footprint. And I'm using the cable system that I kind of pioneered with my full-size tripods to splay out the legs and lock them so you don't need locking hardware up on the joints. But it's high, it's already too tall. It's taller than it should be. And then I tried to build my own ball head with some really primitive kind of wooden hardware and one of these round craft balls that had a hole drill in it. And I've shown this on previous videos. It does work, but it has a real limited range of motion of the ball itself. It only goes a little bit this way and that way because of just the primitive nature of the design. And it is kind of bulky and ends up being a little bit top heavy. So what I started working on was this idea of what are alternate ways that you can make three legs come together. And let me move this camera out of the way first. And so I originally figured, well, if you take two of the legs and you drill a hole through them and you can pivot the legs this way, and then you have to somehow figure out how to make the third leg connect. And what I ended up making was this little dude right here. It's a kind of an interesting design. It's one of these, laying in bed at night thinking kind of a deals. But basically, you have this central piece right here, this short piece, and there's a hole going through this way, and two of the legs, this leg and this leg, are connected by a common bolt coming through the side. And then on the open side over here, your third leg comes out this way, and its bolt goes through the 90 degrees on the other side of it. So it does make an equilateral triangle footprint. The top of this support column right here, I put a rectangular plate on the end of it. I'm using a furniture glide as a 1/4-20 to connect the Joby ball head up here. But it's a pretty interesting little design, and it really is about perfect for my application. Now you'll notice that the top surface, when you have the legs extended, is not horizontal. It's a little bit slanted, but that's okay because the Joby ball head, you can adjust it to get the camera up horizontal however you want it. So of course I'm using the cable system for locking the legs. There are locking nuts, but they don't completely secure the legs. So this is a loop of twine or string. The harder you push on it, the tighter the legs get. It's a tension system. So ended up being kind of pretty easy to put together. I had a 3-foot length of this 5/8 inch oak hardwood dowel. I had a piece of this square 3/4 inch poplar, and then a piece of this 1.25 by 1/2 inch oak. So 3 pieces of wood, basically. And I cut the dowel into 3 12-inch pieces. I cut this middle section down. I cut this, put a notch in it so I can glue the vertical section to the tripod head. I did my little trick on the tripod head with the 1/4-20 blind nut, some hardware and everything, and man, the thing is sweet. Really a nice little setup. And I compared the weight of it. So the Joby tripod like this without the ball head is 247 grams. And this wooden tripod now without the ball head is 239 grams. So this is actually lighter than the Joby GorillaPod, which I thought was a pretty good goal to achieve. And it's also, I think it's pretty achievable because I've found that these lightweight hardwood tripods are really, really more efficient weight-wise than plastic and metal. And so with the camera now attached to the Joby head, what's nice about it is it puts the center of gravity of the camera pretty much right underneath the middle of the triangular footprint of the legs. Of course, I have full articulation capability of the camera itself here, and I find the height for my tabletop use is really about ideal. I like to have the camera slightly higher than my eye level, slightly looking down at my eyes, and it looks like it's going to work really well. I also have an alternate set of holes here that I made in this the vertical piece of the tripod in case I need to change it. But it's a really sweet design, and I think I'm going to be retiring this tripod and certainly that heavy kludge of a tripod, this thing. And now that I've thought about it a little bit more, I think I'll probably keep this particular homemade tripod. And as I've done here, I'm going to just swap the ball head, the homemade ball head from the other one onto this. I think it might be usable for certain tabletop applications, and it's actually breaks down into a fairly decent little package. Well, that's it. That's the update of my tabletop tripod situation. This is Joe Van Cleve, and until next time, you guys have yourselves a great day.